How's everybody doing? It is 4 o'clock, okay, which means you have me. Awesomeness, right? I have been charging up my iPad because a little monster I know lets it run dead. Okay, so before we get started, while all of you, you've got time, you can go get a drink, grab a notepad to take some notes, that sort of thing. I'm going to get you pulled up here on Facebook. All right. Oh, you know what? I can learn my lesson. I need to turn the volume down first. Okay, now I have you. All right, so let me say this. I have you on the Craft Along TV page. Okay, so if you're watching from Silhouette Life Inspiration Box, or if you're watching from Craft Chameleon, that's okay because I will circle back around. But for the live comments, I'm going to be on the Craft Along TV page, okay? Just throwing that out there if I can get it started. Okay, all right. So we're going to try to do this simultaneously, but always remember there's a delay too. So anyway, hello. Hey everyone. I'm ready to get started now. All right. So let's talk about what I have for you today and why you care. Sorry, that was probably put a little bit wrong. So when you did your box this month, right, you had these watercolor kits. All right, they're just basic with a basic kitty brush, and sometimes I wonder, and I know the logical reason behind it, but sometimes I wonder, like, I have all these pretty colors from here to here, and then I've got black and brown, and like those colors don't really exist in my life because I guess I just like to be more colorful. So I was looking at some projects today, and I realized that these don't jive with me because stereotypically speaking, these are manly colors, right? And maybe if I was a boy or I had any small boy children, they would appreciate these two colors more than I do. So what did I do? I said, hey, we need to use these colors. We cannot let these colors feel left out. And I think as a populace, crafting populace, I know that we do have some men that join us, and we love you guys to pieces, okay? But most of us are women, and we like bright, sparkly, shiny, pretty things, okay? So where I'm going with this was this is what I watercolored. Okay, now, is it really my taste? No, of course not, but that's not important because we cannot forget that there's a whole wide variety of not just crafters, but customers or friends and family, or there's 50% of the population that would enjoy some more manly colors. And today, we're going to use these manly colors to make a Father's Day card. Now, this is not just for Father's Day, but the design that I'm going to show you is for Father's Day, but you also get a special treat because I'm going to show you how to set up the design too. So super exciting. Now, I'm going to set up the design in Cricut Design Space. Okay. Don't worry if you are watching and you're following along in Silhouette Studio. That is a-okay. You guys know I actually prefer Silhouette Studio. But because I have my Cricut here and it's wireless reliably and it's what I cut on, I'm going to set it up in Cricut Design Space. So let's go ahead and do that now. I feel like I'm kind of blabbering, so let's actually give you some information that you want and that you can use. Okay, all right. Click over Cricut Design Space. Here we go. So what I'm going to do is start by saying the card that we are going to make will be 5 by 5. So I need a shape. I'm going to do a square. And I'm going to make that square a 5 by 5. Now, I know it looks kind of small, but this is pretty typical for a square card. Now, if you wanted to, you could branch out and you could do a 5x7, you could do a 4x6. Most handmade cards usually fall into the category of it's half of a letter sheet of paper. So that ends up being what, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Okay, so the 5x5 is still a little bit bigger than that. All right, so let's talk about what else we need to do. I actually want to make this with a frame. So I'm going to copy and paste. Well, no, that's not what I wanted. That was from yesterday. Copy, paste. There we go. And I'm going to make this guy, let's do 4.5. And if I center them together, align and center, there we go, then I can slice. And that's going to give me my frame. Okay, now I did that as the 5x5 because I wanted to see what it was going to look like, right? I wanted to make sure that my border was thick enough, but I can make it a little bit bigger now. So next we are going to say, we're going to write out some text. We will say best dad ever, because pretty much dads are pretty awesome and sometimes they kind of get the short end of the stick. All right, we want to find a nice manly font. I'm going to use this freshman font. And basically now I can ungroup. Well, move out of the way for the moment then. And I'm going to regroup these as individual. Okay, so basically the purpose, oh shoot. Let me try that again. Right click, group. No, those are not grouping. All right, we're not going to play around with that. We're going to attach these bad boys and they are done. Done deal. All right. So basically the purpose of my crafting time right here is I want to connect these not only to themselves and each other, but I want to connect them to my card. So I'm going to set up a design. Best dad ever. Now, of course, you can do this for more than just dads. This would make cute for Mother's Day or anything like that, but for what we need it for, that frame just, let's see, can we, nope, it's already in the back. All right, well, never mind. I do want to make these a little longer because they need to fill up that square a little bit better. All right, so best dad ever. Forever and ever. Okay, so if I fill that up, I basically need to go through and make sure that all of these letters are touching something at some point. And what I mean by that is, like, I want to make sure that, so like ever, those can touch the bottom, and best, I can ungroup these and make sure that they touch the top, right? So like this one is touching the D, so that's good. So we're going to detach because we attached them. Let's make sure that our S touches the top, is touching the D. You know what, let's go ahead and have it touch the A. We can get creative with our sizing. So this is obviously kind of a manual process, right? And that's okay. We want them to touch and touch as many other letters as they can. So I will detach that one. I'm going to make my D a little bit larger. Make my A. Okay, so I want to be careful with this one. It's not like delicate or anything, but I don't want it to overpower my V here. So I like where my R is, I like where my E is. I am actually going to make the V, well, I don't really want it that small. There we go. All right, I want to make sure it touches, but I didn't want to close it completely right there. Ever. Best dad ever. So I feel like these are pretty fun. I feel like my ever is a little boring. Oh, wrong one. So maybe if I rotate those a little bit. How do I feel about that? I don't know, Becky. How do you feel about that? All right, so I guess that's better. Best dad ever. Okay, so what we're going to do now, and this was probably a little self-explanatory, but in case it wasn't, the watercolor card that we're doing, this is going to be the front. So I'm going to select it all, and I'm going to weld so that all those become one continuous piece. And then I'm going to size it back down to 5 inches. And I'm going to click over to make it. And let's see, I need a piece of cardstock. Got it. Here, you guys can see me get this ready. There we go. All right, piece of cardstock, just regular white cardstock, because I chose such dark colors. So I want this to contrast, right? And cutting mat. I'm just going to put this on here. And I will load it. Okay, we're going back to the software. Okay, so I can switch this to letter size, because that's the size of cardstock I'm using. Doesn't make a big difference, but always good to have your screen reflect your material. How are we doing? How's everybody doing on questions? I forgot about you guys over here. Okay, all right. No questions so far. Robin, I'm not sure what, then I can't see that the test is too small. Okay, well, just keep me updated. Keep me updated. Hopefully you guys are able to watch this. All right, so I'm going to choose medium cardstock. And I do have my fine point blade loaded. So now I can just click over to my Cricut button, and it's going to go ahead and cut. Now this might be a little bit loud because you're closer to it than I am. But believe it or not, it's not as loud as my silhouette. So that is super exciting. Now, while this is cutting, let's take a look at our watercolor. So I used green, brown, and black. And then I used a fair amount of water along the sides. Now, this does not have to be as pretty as the last watercolor project that we did, because it's going to be mostly covered up. This is just going to be my background image. And I chose these colors because they are kind of a little on the camo spectrum. Now, if you are more talented at watercolor than I am, feel free to, you could make this whole thing into a sign or a card or whatever. This is just watercolor paper. And this is actually pretty thick. This is thicker than the stuff I sent in your subscription box, but just because this is what I had on hand. So because this is so thick, I was afraid that it would weigh down my other cardstock. So for the base of the card, I have this really lightweight chipboard. Okay, and what I'm going to do with the chipboard, this is almost done. What I'm going to do with the chipboard, this is a straight edge cutter. Okay, so I'm kind of cheating a little bit because I could do this in my software, but I don't want to. So here we go. So I'm using this is a paper trimmer. You can get them at a craft store. Really easy and a good investment if you don't already have one. Expand my ruler. So for a 5x5 card, I want this to be 5 inches by 10 inches because we're going to fold it in half, right? So it's I already know that it's longer than 10 inches. So I'm going to go to 5 inches on my ruler. Cut it. So now we're at 5 at 11. We're getting close. So I want to measure it at 10 inches. And it's going to cut off that extra inch for me. Okay. Now, here's the tricky part because I want this to fold easily. So what I can do is give it like a little kiss cut. So I'm going to come back to 5 inches. And I'm not going to drag my blade through it. I'm just going to let it kind of score that area. And you can do this in the silhouette too. You just set your blade and see how it's folding easy. Okay. Because I marked it, so it's basically a weak point, right? But it's not so small that not so small. Where was I going with that? Why did I completely blank out? It's not so deep that it cut through the chipboard. Okay, sorry, blonde moment. Okay, here's our cut. Can you see any of the cut lines on there? All right, I'm just gonna take the cardstock off. And then if I got a good cut, this is a live test, okay? If I got a good cut, oh, I don't want it to break. I can go through and just lift my letters out. Be gentle with it. Ta-da! Best dad ever. Okay, so the hardest part of this was designing the file, in my opinion. Okay, and now I can select. Now I have to be careful. I'm not gonna fib. This is still wet down at the bottom because I did that. I didn't want you guys to have to wait and watch me do it live. But I just need to make sure that it fits, and it does. So I'm good on that. As a matter of fact, no, I don't have any towels, but I can go ahead and use this, and I want you to see how it lines up with my card. So, I mean, in theory, you don't necessarily have to do the watercolor, but I'm going to. Let me get my paper cutter out again, paper trimmer. Let's see. And I'm going to put this guy pretty much need him right there in the middle. Okay, so if I cut down a little bit on the side, and then I can measure 5 inches. Okay, and then I can just trim the bottom a little bit. And then once again, 5 inches. Wow, looks like I trimmed down a little bit too far. I do have a little white space there, but that's okay. That's okay. We're not going to worry about that right now. All right. So now we have our watercolor. Can you see that? So let's talk about putting this together. First and foremost, I told you I chose this. It's a little bit thicker than you would normally do for a card base, but it works really well. So I am going to adhere my watercolor to my card base. Now, if I was a little bit smarter than I am now, I actually would have made this a little bit smaller so that the craft will show around the edge. So just keep that in mind. Be smarter than Becky. And I brought two tools over here. One is it's a zig pen. What do they call these? Two-way glue. Okay, can you see that? I get these on Amazon, just really love them. And then these, you've had these in your box before, so you might want to raid some of your old boxes if you need to. This is just a little tape runner. You can also get these at your local craft store. All right, so I'm going to turn over. No, I'm going to do it on my card base because this, I want to be able to position it, and I just feel like it would work better if it was on my card base. So I use the tape runner anytime, especially something that's large, and I have enough surface to use it. Okay, so the reason that I keep this handy is because some of these letters I'll be able to apply the glue on the back. Okay, but I don't want to overdo it with the glue pen because number one, then you have to wait for it to dry. But number two, if you get too much glue on the back, then you know how it like squishes out the side. Think of like school glue. You want to use it sparingly. Okay, so those are together. I really like that. I like that a lot. And I didn't even have to iron out my watercolor paper because the strength of the chipboard on the back holds it together for me. And then I am going to, any place that I can get away with it, I'm going to use this tape runner. It's really not a lot of places on here. I'm sure that these come in a, I don't want to say that. I feel like if they don't come in a smaller size, they should. And I know that you can get double-sided tape that's in a thinner that would also work really well. Basically, if you start doing cards, talk to your scrapbooking friends because they always have the best adhesive. Let's see. That's okay. I mean, that's just okay. It's okay enough. But if I was going to give this as a gift, I would want it to be more. Okay, there we go. So that is my watercolor card. And it's really easy. Card making in itself is really easy. I think sometimes when we start getting into print and cut and stuff like that, it does make it more complicated. But the base of card making is really easy, and it's a really great personalized item. I first found out about card making when my grandpa got sick. He had cancer, and some members of his family, some older ladies, that's all they did. Well, I don't want to say that's all they did, but they sent him beautiful handmade cards. And once I figured out how much time they had to spend in making these handmade cards, we put together a scrapbook that had a lot of these cards in it so that he could hang on to them and keep them close. So that's kind of what, I don't want to say started me on card making, but it's what draws me to card making because of how much more personal, and you can really kind of feel the love and effort that comes from them. So enough sentimental stuff. Okay, let's talk about the inside of this card. Now the inside of this card is just meh. I mean, you could take a black pen or marker and write in it, but that gets a little boring. So what you can do is you can come back with your same piece of cardstock and you can create a mat for the inside of your card. Now this one you do want it to be a little smaller for sure. So I'm going to make a square. I always forget to pull my arm out. I'm going to make a square that is 4 3/4. And you guessed it, 4 3/4. And this gives me a nice, pretty kind of frame. And I can use my tape runner and just tack it down there on the inside. So let's do that. Now this time, I will definitely put the tape runner on the back of my cardstock because this is not going to be straight even. It's not going to be completely even with my sides of my chipboard. Gosh, it's like I can't talk today. I'm sorry. So I want to try to get this in the middle. Well, you know, what's the middle anyway? Who cares? I got it pretty center. There we go. So now this is what I would do is I would have the pretty front of my card and then I would be able to open it up and write whatever sort of sentiment I wanted in there. You know, let the kids write in there, let the kids draw. Oh, let me back up. That's part of the reason that we use the watercolor for this, because this is a great way, especially if you have young children, to let them participate in making the card, but you get a little bit more than just a handmade card. I'm not saying we don't all love handmade cards. I love handmade cards. My daughter makes me cards 23 times a day and brings them to me, and I love every last one of them. But I'm just saying if you wanted to kind of dress it up a little bit, you could let them use the watercolor and paint their, you know, whatever pattern they like, and then you would be able to turn it into a card for them and let them fill out the inside. So there we go. So that's my handmade card, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it, because I think that card making is it's a dying art. So think about it. Think about all that cardstock you got laying around, and you know, you could do some good with it. So I'm going to check back on comments, okay? All right. Well, either I'm not seeing the comments or they're that we're doing really good on that. So I'm going to jump over to Craft Chameleon. So just wait for me. I'm coming. I'm coming, Craft Chameleon people. Linda, I'm glad that I'm not the only one. I don't want to call mine senior moments yet, though. I'm not ready. Okay, so why am I using the fabric mat? Okay, so my mat, it is a fabric mat, but I started using it when the sticky started wearing away. So this is a fabric mat, but it's not super sticky like it is when you first get them. And I do that. I save my mats. I feel like they go through like a life cycle. Like they start off being super sticky. That's when I want to use it if I'm going to cut heat transfer vinyl, faux leather, anything that really needs that strong grip. And then once it starts losing its stickiness, I'll set it to the side, and this now becomes like for cardstock or even adhesive vinyl, so that it'll release that paper backing a little bit better. So don't let this fool you. This isn't, I don't need this to cut cardstock. It's just because it has started to lose its sticky, but I can still use it for other projects. So that's the only reason why. Okay. All right. So that was it for Craft Chameleon. You guys were easy tonight. Let's jump over to my main page, Silhouette Life Inspiration Box. So just in case you guys are wondering, Now, I'll be back here Thursday. Don't worry about that. But starting next week, I should have some really awesome box projects to show you. And in case you're watching, I'm going to let you in on a secret, okay? The box is 4th of July themed. So really super excited about that because I am ready for some red, white, and blue, if you know what I mean. So let's see. Watch video. What's the make of my trimmer? Oh, this is Fiskars. And one thing, I don't know if you can see in the video or not. Maybe if I put something underneath it. One thing to look for, I think that made it worse. But this one, if you open it up, it has a wire that runs down the center, and that tells you exactly where your blade is going to cut. So if you have the option, this is the one that I recommend. It has the slide out arm, and it has that wire in the middle that'll show you where your blade will cut. That way, if you're making precision cuts in the future, you can use that wire to guide you, okay? And you can get these, you can get the replacement blades easy. You literally take them out. Oh, wrong side. You take them out. They have these little areas at the bottom. Well, I was trying to show you how easy it is, and now it's not going to be easy for me. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's the blade. You take them out and you put them in, and it's replaceable. That way when it starts to dull down, you take it out. I think you buy them in a 2-pack for like $7 or something like that. But I've had these for years, and I love them. Love them. I think I have 4 of them total. So just throwing it out there in case you guys need to feel better about your crafting stash. Just think about it. Becky has 4 paper trimmers that all do the same exact thing. You're welcome. All right. All right, so I think that's all I have. Let me pose for you again. I'm gonna do my, hang on. I'm gonna do my Vanna White pose. There we go. So there we go. That's our card for today. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you learned a little bit something, and I will, you know what, I'll put this file up. I'll post a download in the links, just in case you want to make one of your own, and, you know, give it to somebody for Father's Day, or, I mean, heck, you could even sell them. Some people, my Etsy business started completely as handmade cards, so people do still buy handmade cards too, in case you're wondering. Not a lot of money in it compared to the time, but you can actually sell them. So, all right, guys, thanks again. I hope you have a great Tuesday. I will see you tomorrow for our silhouette software tutorial at 7, and I'll be back here Thursday at 4 o'clock for another project tutorial. So, yay! All right, see you guys. Bye.